Right, the top 5 pros and cons of living in Palm Beach, Florida. Let's get to it. All right, let's get into it, guys. So the first 5 pros of living in Palm Beach County, Florida is going to be the weather. The weather stays phenomenal all year round for the most part. All right, it's going to stay fairly warm. Very rarely does it get cold. Right, it is called the Sunshine State for a reason. Because it stays sunny and it stays warm, and guess what? You can go outside basically any time of the year, which is amazing. All right, listen, just to put it in perspective for you, I got family that lives in New York. I think the coldest it ever really gets down here is probably low 40s. I'm talking late night, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Once the sun comes up, guess what? That temperature shoots back up. You're probably in the 70s, and this is the winter time I'm talking about. And I'm saying this only happened for some more minute time of the winter. The coldest time is probably February, end of January and February time. And you get a few pockets of these cold fronts that come from up north. I blame you northerners for bringing that cold down here. All right. So it happens a few times. I got a lot of family in New York, and they come down through, because they want to get away from the cold, get away from the winter, the snow. And guess what? In 60-degree weather, when I'm freezing because I'm so used to the sun, they're in shorts and they're in the water. I'm like, these people are nuts. But guess what? That's why a lot of people come down there, because it sure beats snow, 20-degree weather, 10-degree weather. I used to live in Kentucky. It wasn't that cold, but we've had some cold days. We had power lines freeze over, so I understand it. I went to school in Kentucky. I graduated in Kentucky from college. Came back down here to South Florida because I love it. So that's number 1, the weather. Now, number 2. Pro is going to be the beaches, which I'm going to tie that into the weather, right? The beaches. Why? You go to the beach all year round, basically, because the weather is so nice. And living in Palm Beach County, you're maybe 30 minutes from the beach, tops. Now, you could be a little bit far, depending how far west, but for the majority of people in Palm Beach County, you're within a 30-minute drive and probably less. All right, so if you like going to the beach, you want to get a little color, you want to get a tan, guess what? You're just a few minutes away. And on top of this, so much activities to do around the beaches. There's tons of beach. In my last video, I kind of talked to you about Singer Island and Lake Worth Beach and the different things that are around over there. So that's a benefit of living in South Florida, in Palm Beach County. The weather, and then you mix that in with the beaches, forget about it. You can't beat it. Now, number 3. What is number 3? It's going to be the taxes. Let's go. People come out for the weather, the beaches, and the taxes. Those are probably the biggest 3. A lot of people are coming, thousands. I think it's about 1,000 a day to move into South Florida, or to move into Florida for better taxes. Florida does not have state tax, right? So we just pay federal taxes, which is awesome. Because if you live in a state like New York, you're paying federal taxes, you're paying state taxes. Now, if you live in the city, you're also paying city taxes. So go ahead and deduct your state tax, your city tax, and now calculate your savings. And on top of that, property taxes are definitely lower compared to states like New York and California. So now you're saving in state, city, and property taxes, which makes this a huge benefit, a huge pro living here in South Florida. Actually, I might do a separate video just kind of going off on how much you could actually save, but this is here just for general information. So number 4 is the attractions. Guys, we're close to everything down here. There is nothing you have to drive exuberant amount of time for. So let's start from north and let's work our way down. Actually, let's start in Palm Beach County. Palm Beach County, if you saw my last video, there's tons of stuff to do, right? We have the driving range, Drive Shack, which is, familiar with Top Golf, is familiar to that. Number 2, we have, like I said, the beaches. We have Lion Country Safari. We have tons of museums. Zoos. You can't beat it. All within Palm Beach County. But guess what? Then we have the attractions up north, right? People come to Florida. You living where people vacation. That's what it is. Then we have Orlando, right? You have Disney World, SeaWorld, Universal, Busch Gardens, and Tampa. And Orlando's a 2-hour drive, depending on where, 2.5 tops. And then on top of that, if you are a resident of Florida, you get residential discounts to these parks. You can get annual passes to these parks for what people pay for a 2-3 day pass out of state. And you can come all throughout the whole year. Me and my family, we have SeaWorld annual passes because my daughter loves fishes. She loves the dolphins, the whales. She loves aquariums. We got a bunch of aquariums in our house. I love to keep fish. And so we go a few times a year. So it's a huge benefit. Now, if you're into sports, guess what? You're not that far from Miami, right? You have the Miami Dolphins, you have the Miami Heat, you have the Florida Marlins, you have all these sports teams. Then on top of that, you have just Miami in general, which I used to live in Miami, and I don't like Miami. It's way too crowded, but it's a great place to visit if you're looking for something to do. All right, so the attractions are very close by. So that's definitely a plus. Now let's go ahead and get into number 5. Number 5 is going to be the food. What I love about Florida is diverse. Listen, I was born in New York. I've been in Florida most of my life. My wife is Colombian. But you go out in the street, you're going to see Colombian restaurants, Dominican restaurants, Jamaican restaurants, Indian cuisines, Asian restaurants, Chinese, Japanese. I mean, you just name it. There's so much diversity in South Florida because so many people want to be here that it's just an amazing place to go ahead and come and try different foods. And it's authentic. Most of these places are mom and pop places, and you go to any community, you probably find a mom and pop place, and it's delicious. So the food is amazing here in South Florida. You find the right place. I mean, it's crazy, these little pockets, and you find this one little pocket of food, and whew, I mean, you're gonna gain some weight down here. Let me just tell you, you're going to gain some weight. That's just what it is. All right, so those are the 5 pros. Now let's get into some of the cons. All right, because let's just face it, nothing is perfect. All right, so Florida is by no means perfect. So what is the first con? It's the weather. And isn't that one of the benefits, the pros? Yeah, it is. But guess what? With the good of the weather, there's also the bad. If you don't like the heat, forget about it. It's just gonna be a con for you. All right, so it's personal preference. And if you like seasons, you don't have much of that here, right? The leaves aren't gonna change colors. It's not gonna get that cold. You're not gonna have snow. So if you like the changing of the seasons, I'll probably say I'll take a vacation throughout the seasons, and I'll stay a few days, a week in another place to see the seasons. I'd rather wake up and not be freezing. That's just me personally. But yeah, it's gonna be the weather. The weather, it's gonna have a lot of rainy days, especially in the summer. We're by a body of water. There's gonna be a lot of evaporation. It's gonna be pretty humid. You want to bring a towel. Wear light clothes. You're gonna have to buy light clothes. You don't want to wear anything heavy, especially if you're out and about all day. All right, now number 2, another con. This kind of mixes in with the weather, but it's gonna be hurricanes. Hurricanes, they're part of Florida. You're gonna have to get used to it, right? Palm Beach County, we've been lucky the last few years that we haven't had to deal too much with the hurricanes. They've been kind of missing us, either going south or going north or going to the west coast, gratefully, but guess what? It happens, and you're gonna have to deal with power outages. You're gonna have to deal with having to board up your house or put up shutters. Best thing to do is get accordion shutters. If you're moving down here, definitely if you're buying a house, get a house with accordion shutters, or install them. Why? Because it makes it easy. All you pretty much do is close them and you're good to go. If you're not familiar, I'll probably do another video on hurricane preparation if you're moving to South Florida, because that's an important thing down here, and then you want to be prepared, right? Buy water, because you might be out of power for a week. Propane, have a propane stove, different things to make sure that you're ready to cook and survive for a little bit of time before FPNL, which is our power company down here in South Florida, could actually get you back on basically back on and functioning. All right, so that's con number 2. Let's go to con number 3. Con number 3 is going to be the drivers. People come to Florida, Palm Beach County, specifically to retire. So we have an older population here, which, let's just face it, sometimes the older population aren't the best drivers. I've seen people who probably shouldn't be driving. And then we also have a lot of street races here. If you look up the stats, I'm pretty sure Florida has one of the worst percentage of just horrible drivers. And maybe everyone feels like their state has horrible drivers, but I definitely think down in South Florida the drivers are not that good. Now another thing to do, especially if you come from a bigger city or something, there is no there's no public transportation. If you're used to hopping on a train to get somewhere or hopping on a taxi, obviously there's Ubers and Lyft and all that, which is good, but you're not gonna get a bus, you're not gonna get a train to go anywhere, so you drive everywhere. And I don't see that as a con or pro, but if you're used to that, I know people who live in New York who barely don't even have a car because they could just walk where they need to go. You're not gonna really be walking where you want to go. I don't know if you don't want to walk. Like I said, it gets hot. It gets really hot. So I don't know if you would want to walk everywhere you go down here in South Florida. So I would say that. And another one right here. So we have weather, we have drivers, we have hurricanes, and lack of transportation. Number five is gonna go ahead and be Is going to be a higher cost of living. So there is a higher cost of living here in South Florida compared, I don't want to say compared to other states. Obviously, it could be higher compared to the states, but compared to other parts of Florida. All right, you go an hour north, 45 minutes north in Port St. Lucie. The cost of living is cheaper. The housing is cheaper. I believe their property tax actually might be higher, but it all balances out. But yeah, you could get the same house in probably Port St. Lucie for a whole lot less than you do in Palm Beach County. Oh, because people want to be in Palm Beach County. There's less job opportunities. There's less to do out there in reality. While Palm Beach County is a hub of so many different things, which is why so many people want to be here. So if you want to be in a place where a lot of people want to be at, you're going to have to pay. It's supply and demand. A lot of people want to be here, so you do have to pay a little bit more to live in Palm Beach County. That's just the reality of it. So it is a little bit of a con because you can get a lot more for your buck in other areas. But guess what? You're not going to be surrounded by all the activities that Palm Beach has to offer, which I think is a huge, it's a huge thing, right? So yeah, you have to pay more, but you also get a lot more activities. You might not get as much house for the same amount of money, but you give and take. Everything in life is give and take at the end of the day. So I guys hope you guys like this list of pros and cons in Palm Beach County. If you guys are thinking of moving to Florida, guys, please send me a message. If there's anything else you guys want to learn about Palm Beach County, go ahead and leave a comment. Guys, make sure you subscribe and like this video. It was a pleasure speaking with you. This is Christopher Dern with Fathom Realty, and I'm out.